love the Tagalog language because it's very like, I don't know the word, but it's like every syllable, like every consonant is very strong and every vowel is very musical. So like when you're learning it, like I had a housemate and she was so sweet to me. She was always walking around the house singing. She's just a very sweet person. But she was like, I remember her being like, ah, e, o, u. You know, like she would like do all of the like things that you do with little kids there when you're learning how to talk and when you're learning how to read. And she would tell me what all the like body parts were. And I just felt like it was such it's such a musical language, Tagalog is. They have like a lot of different dialects there though. Like I never lived with anyone that was, well, I lived with her, but besides her, during my whole time there, I didn't really live with anyone that was a native Tagalog speaker because they speak all different kinds of languages there that all have kind of the same pronunciation, but like different words. So like in Tagalog, for example, you say o and e for like or and. But then in Bisaya, which is another one, I had another friend that speaks Bisaya, and in their language it's like oog and og for and or. So very different, but like also the pronunciation's the same. I think I had the hardest time with, they have this sound and like we have it on the end of words, like ing words, like when we say singing or running, but they have this ng sound before vowels. So they'll say nga, like they have this word that means need, and it's pangangailangan. So when I was like working on my accent, I would just be like nga nga nga, you know, nge nge ngi ngi ngo 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 ngo, just like trying to practice to like get that sound very like fluid and easy to say. I noticed I have an easy time like mimicking people, and so a lot of people there thought I was fluent before I was fluent, but I would say it's very easy to learn to speak the language there because people get very excited when you're making an effort. And so I would be like, good morning, you know, which is magandang umaga po, and I would say that and people would be like, oh, you're fluent, you know, they'd be like, fluent ka. And the cool thing about Tagalog is they really like to do this thing called Taglish. So they'll put English words inside of their very strange grammar structure, which is very different than English. Like we have subject, verb, object, or whatever. In Tagalog, you can have subject, verb, object. You can have verb, subject, object. You can have like verb, object, subject. So they'll just like mix things around, which I think is nice because the way they conjugate the verb like kind of changes the focus of the sentence. So if you want the focus of the sentence to be the object, you just change the type of verb ending and beginning that you use. And yeah, it makes more sense when you're like speaking, but it's funny because I thought that they would be speaking pure Tagalog, and then I'd hear people be like, kailangan nating mag-pray, which is like the English word for praying. And they would just use a lot of different English words that I was not expecting. And so sometimes I like wouldn't understand them because they would say the English word with a Tagalog accent. And so those were the hardest words for me to learn, which was funny. And they also have lots of Spanish in their language. Like they have numbers 1 through 10, they'll use Tagalog numbers generally, but then anything over 10, it's like it's too inconvenient to say the Tagalog word because Tagalog words are very long, so they'll just use the Spanish, which is sort of funny. But they have these like subtle differences, like instead of saying siete or siete, they'll say siete. Instead of saying diez, they'll say gis. It's very funny. But yeah, their language is very unique, but very musical, I think, which is funny because they love to sing, but they love to sing in English. as well as Tagalog, and it almost feels like most people don't know how to sing on pitch, but it's like the tone is very nice. So I feel like their voices are made to sing. They just tend to fall flat, maybe because of the humidity, like string instruments. I don't know. That's just a theory of mine, but I could be wrong. No, but I love listening to them talk. I think actually part of the reason I talked about this earlier, but I think part of the reason that their language and their like ideas that they're communicating are so simple is because words are so long. So like their word for faith that's just an example I use because it's so long. It's like one syllable in English, and then in Tagalog it's pananampalataya. It's literally like the whole word. But I really like the way that they put things together. So like they'll have a root word, like the word for light is liwanag, and then if they conjugate it a certain way, magpaliwanag means to explain. So it's kind of like the English like enlighten, but it like makes sense, it makes more sense than explain to me, because you're like making things brighter for someone. I don't know. So I really enjoyed, like, while I was there, I really enjoyed just how simple like conveying ideas was because of the language.